Try and get this straight for you, PawPaw. I'm heading out towards Ipswich. I don't know how well your folk will remember. Let's try and get this straight. Melton. This is Melton near Woodbridge. Obviously not a long way away from Playford, end of Ipswich. It's not even the rush hour, mate. It's about 9 o'clock. Traffic is even now quite heavy in rural Suffolk. I don't know what it's like in Tennessee. I suppose it depends where you go. But the set traffic lights up here usually take about a quarter of an hour or so to get through. I'll drive through Woodbridge just in case mother-in-law remembers Woodbridge. Some bits have changed, some bits haven't, I suppose. Here we go then, this is Melton Crossroads. Turn and left, I'll go through Woodbridge. Don't know how much of this will be remembered, but might as well, soon as it's on the way. This pub on the left here, the Coach and Horses, has been there for years and years. It's very busy now because they do quite good food there. And this is the main road through Melton, leading to what I call Melton Hill. I think it is its official name at the end. It's not much of a hill. Little garage on the right here used to be called Fairhead and Sawyer. That was there for years and years. I worked there in the petrol station back in the days when we actually served people in the car, so I'd be the lad on the forecourt actually putting the fuel into people's cars. The top of this is a hire van. I haven't driven before, so I'm going a bit cautiously. Anyway, up Melton Hill. New developments going on everywhere around here, but everyone's got to live somewhere, haven't they? Even these old houses were new once. I don't think we're losing the character of the place too much. And this is where Woodbridge starts, really. The Red Lion pub at the bottom. We do like our pubs, don't we? Don't go to the pub very often. Living in the middle of nowhere, you can't really go out and have 4 or 5 pints. Unless you go to the village pub. That gets a bit boring because it's the same old people. You can see the thoroughfare. It's that road right in front that we won't be going up. That's the main shopping street in Woodbridge. That probably hasn't changed all that much. Different shops, of course, but the actual buildings are all pretty old. You can just see the River Deben through those trees. And the railway track is on the left-hand side there. We're heading in the direction of Ipswich if the train was going the same way as us. Coming down to the riverside in Woodbridge now. All these buildings on the left and the right here are new, obviously, but dotted amongst them are very old buildings. We sort of take that for granted living here, really, how old some of our buildings are, I suppose. You're just used to seeing them. On the left hand side, if I turn this a bit naughty, that's the railway station and the cinema. The cinema's been there, oh, 120, 130 years, I should think. So, swimming pool on the left. Where new houses have been built, they do try to blend them in fairly well. So So sometimes it's difficult to tell what's old and what's new, but all these on the right here are old. Knockcut's Garden Centre on the right here, where my mum used to work years ago. Cherry Tree Pub, that's been there for donkey's years. I tell you one thing that might be remembered is up Playford Road. Actually, if I drive all the way up Playford Road rather than going into Ipswich and coming back out, I'll try and remember where it is. There used to be a pub when I was younger, about, I suppose about 20, 25, 30 years ago. It used to be called the Falcon, I think, but that's no longer there. It's a private house now. There weren't that many houses around it, so I suppose it just didn't generate enough money. You don't make huge amounts of money from beer alone unless you're in the middle of a city in the UK now, so unless you're doing good food that families will go out to eat at a reasonable price, then, or an expensive price I suppose if you've got the money for it, you don't make a lot of money on it. You see this pub here on the right, which I'll get a sneaky little look at, the Duke of York, that's only about 20 years old, that building, and it looks really old. They've done a good job on that. That used to be a garage and a petrol station called Jules, but I don't know how long they were there for. Probably not as old as the other one I worked at. That had been there for about 100 years, I think. All this road here is new. If you go straight over this roundabout, you come to Big Deal Carriageway, main route. But we're turning left here into Martlesham, which I'm sure will be remembered. So we're getting closer to Playford all the while. I hope I'm still recording and not just talking to myself. Mind you, that wouldn't be the first time, PawPaw. There's a European Union flag there. Brexit is a big subject in the UK at the moment. We go under the railway line to Ipswich here. Not sure how old this little garage has been there. The building looks old, doesn't it? We're coming up to the Red Lion pub, where I shall turn right. And I actually think it's called Playford Road all the way through here. It goes through Beelings. The building on the thatched building on the left was once, years and years and years ago, like a truck stop cafe almost, and then it was a nightclub called the Pink Flamingo, but that was before my time. Excuse me. I didn't actually look on the road sign, but this, even if this isn't called Playford Road, it does turn into Playford Road, or becomes Playford Road I should say. Let's get past him. Nothing coming the other way, apart from another cyclist. Lots of people cycle now. You'd be surprised at the number of cyclists on our roads. So you do have to be a bit careful when you're driving along the old fruit. So I really believe this is well, this is sort of where Martlesham turns into Beelings, really, I think. There's little Beelings and great Beelings, and I can never remember which is which, and I can never actually really remember where Playford starts. Don't often come this way. I do like using little back roads, but if you're in a van it can get a bit tedious because you have to go slow. Just going to pull in here and let the car behind me past, because I'm going a lot slower than he wants to go. Right, this is Martlesham Road. Well, at some point this does turn into Playford Road. Oh, look, this is where Little Beeling starts. This is the main dual carriageway that bypasses Martlesham now. Even I can remember when I was a little lad, the main road, or the main A12, all the way from Great Yarmouth and Lowestoft and everything, all went through Martlesham. And I had a set of traffic lights where that Red Lion pub was. And, well, particularly on a Saturday in the summertime, where all the folk from London and people like that were heading up to the seaside for a day out, those traffic lights used to take forever to get through, so they built that massive dual carriageway to bypass Martlesham, which was a great improvement, I must say. Colours are pretty here, aren't they? That's why I don't come up little roads unless I know that they're quite wide. There's some lovely big houses in Little Beelings. That one's got its own tennis court. Very posh. I'm trying not to overdo the Suffolk accent. I'm just trying to talk normally. But you might be able to hear a bit of a tinge. Although I often think, well, some places I go in the UK, they think I'm from Australia. You can tell that, can't you, mate? Because it ain't too far away from being Australian. That's a terrible Australian accent, but you get the idea. That was the road to Kesgrave, where I used to live. I hope you're getting something out of this little trip. Just thought I might as well record it. You don't have to watch it. Where Playford Road starts. That bridge over the new dual carriageway we always used to call Playford Bridge. Although it's nowhere near Playford, it's near Beelings, but for some reason I remember my dad, who's still with us, always used to call that Playford Bridge. Perhaps that's just a name he gave it. Now we're really not that far from Ipswich. It's a bit gloomy today, but it's not raining. All the crops are in. Well in. What the trouble the farmers around here have got, and in a lot of the UK, is that the back end of September and October have been so wet and rainy that they haven't been able to cultivate the fields. That's the road to Kesgrave. To the right is Otley and Grunsborough way, and that is Playford actually up there. So it's the next village along there is Playford, it says. I do get confused. Yeah, so the fields have been so sod and wet they haven't been able to get in what they call winter wheat, which is a wheat that grows really slowly during the winter time, so that when spring comes it's already just quite frost hardy, so when spring comes it's all ready to burst forward. Now this is the row of what is now houses, where on the end used to be, I'm 99% sure it used to be the Falcon pub. I did go in there once, so I think it's that, yeah, you can see that used to be a pub. Although they've built an extension on, I think, but that used to be the Falcon pub. I'm trying to get some footage without upsetting other people by driving too slow, but I haven't got anyone behind me. Right, this is where I've got to go slow. I have to be a bit careful taking footage of someone's house. I don't want them to think I'm a perv. That's the street. remember the name of the one on the left. Bent Lane. And 91. Well, it's just called 91 now, so I don't know if it used to be a house split into two and now it's one. That's Ipswich Town's football club's training ground. I think it's past Humberdoosey Lane. That's a name you might remember, Humberdoosey. I've never looked that up. I don't know why it's called Humberdoosey. That's a lovely name, though, isn't it? These are all kind of 60s, 1960s built bungalows. Most of them. That one's being re-roofed. Thank you, darling. Now you're up here on the right, but I think it is just after the next road on the right, which is Humberdoosey Lane. That's Humberdoosey. I am in a... Have I gone past it? No, I think I've driven right past the beggar. I bet you were going, stop, there it is. Now this is an awful junction to get in and out of, as you can see. What I might do is pull into this lay-by here and get my sat-nav running. Just about, it was dark when we came last night, so I thought, what is the point? Stop here and I might pull a U in, swing round. Let me look it up. Yeah, I had driven past it. I'm just up a little side road near to it. Turning around. This is called the Mills, but these all look like they were built 60s, maybe early 70s perhaps. And to the left just there is Ipswich Town Football Club's training ground. Number 91 has got a couple of cars parked in the driveway, so there might be a couple of retired people who are still at home today, so I won't intrude too much. I'll just take a little bit of footage for you. So you see the blue house on the right hand side, your house is the next one along. So there's the blue house and yours is the brick one on the left there, which I'm sure you'll remember. Well, PawPaw, I'm back the next day because the footage I took yesterday didn't come out, which is annoying. So anyway, there we go. That's number 91 for you. I can't see any evidence of a 91A, so I think this is the best I can do. Now hopefully that is the house. 91, it's called Hill House now. There's a little garage on the side. I don't really want to linger too long, so I don't want to worry the people who live there. There you go. I was looking where I was going then, rather than the house. It's probably just as well. Anyway, there you go. Hopefully that is the right one. Hopefully the footage will come out today. It's a bit wetter today. Cheers! Stop just here. There you are, there's 91. There you go, there's 91. It's called Hill House now. Don't know if you remember the houses opposite. Got a car behind me just at the moment, so I'll let them pass and then I'll reverse just a tiny bit so you can get a better view. Whilst looking at the camera, try not to back into anything. So that's your house. Well, I hope it's the right one. I'm trying to do this without getting arrested for voyeurism or something. But there it is. I don't know if you remember. Little garage out the side there. Look. If that is not the one, it does say 91 on that signpost there. If that isn't the right one, then please do get back to me and I'll have another search. But there you go, pretty little house. Looks like it's built in at the turn of the century, maybe. Not the turn of the century, because we've just had another turn of the century. Them to think I'm casing the joint. There you go. I hope that was of use to you. I tried my best. It's a pleasure. Cheers, mate. Keep the GoPro on, have a little drive through Ipswich because I've got to go out the other side to carry on to where my first job of the day is. So let's put the GoPro back where it was because it was a bit more stable there. My daughter was well, I was born, that big chimney that is the Ipswich Hospital. It's going to take us about 2 days to get out of this junction because it's a busy road, but never mind. Yeah, my daughter was born in Ipswich and she had quite a distinctive Ipswich accent, and I think there's a... Oh, he's let me out, good man. Cheers, dude. There is quite a distinctive difference between rural part of Suffolk, because I was brought up in and around Orford, Wicker Market, Aldeburgh, Snape, all around that sort of area. But my daughter was born in Ipswich and grew up in Ipswich, and they have a curious way of saying some words. They'll put an extra syllable on, so they'll go over there. Whereas if you're from rural Suffolk, you go over there. Ass over the ass, what you'd say. You don't say that's. You say ass over there, boy. But I noticed that my daughter picked up this little there thing. Over there. If she was counting, she'd go 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So she'd say 5 and 9. She don't get quite such that hard pronunciation. Pronunciation, I can't even. That's irony for you. I can't pronounce pronunciation. If this gets boring, then so be it, my friend. It's old Father Time there on the right. Look, bless his heart. He's still walking along. Got a lot of admiration for old geezers who don't just give up and carry on walking. Sometimes you see them shuffling along, you think you're never going to get there, but they do, mate, they do. This is really the start of Spring Road. I used to live years and years ago in Camden Road, which is off Vauxhall Road, the next road to the left, which goes into Ipswich in this sort of fashion as well. But these houses haven't changed much in years and years. The Brickmaker's Arms, I don't know whether that's been called that for forevermore or not. You'd probably be quite surprised at how the things have changed down near the docks. There's been a lot of redevelopment there and some swanky flats and restaurants, this, that and the other. Crab Street. This is the junction of Spring Road and Cordwell Hall Road. Now the house that's called Rudyard is up on the left hand side here. You go left and it's something like the second road on the right. And Rudyard is, well, I looked it up and there's a lake somewhere called Rudyard and Rudyard Kipling. I've never ever heard of anyone else being called Rudyard, so can't help feeling there must be a tie there. That pub there, the Fat Cat, hasn't been called that for all that many years, perhaps about as long as I've been alive, 46 years, 40 years, something like that. Do a lot of real ale. It's a real drinkers pub, that is. Don't even know if they do food, I expect they do. Anyway, down Spring Road. Hopefully everything I'm telling you is correct. I'm trying my best not to embellish the things I'm telling you. This is the Spring Road Viaduct, and that's the railway line that goes out of town through Westerfield and all that way. This is the part of Ipswich where I will be renting a house in the new year, so I can be a bit closer to, because I'm currently living with Mum and Dad, so hopefully I'll find somewhere here I can afford. So if my daughter wants to come and say hello, she can just jump out her front door and walk back, or get the bus from college, yeah, stop early and say hello to her dad. Get on very well with my daughter, so it'd be good to see more of her. Grove Lane to the left, which goes all the way back up to Vauxhall Road and out of Ipswich. I hope the footage has been alright. The stabilisation on the camera is quite good, but this is quite a bumpy van. It's a Ford Transit. My usual van is a Vauxhall, which used to be part of GM Group and is now owned by the company that owns Peugeot and Citroën, if I remember correctly. And that wafts along, because French cars have always had quite soft suspension compared to other cars. They seem to do suspension quite well. You know, thinking about it, it's amazing how many of these buildings are hundreds of years old. That monstrosity in front is sort of Victorian, the thing that looks like a castle. It used to be the council offices, but they moved out of there, must be about 20 years ago, and it's just been empty ever since, because I think there's a lot of flat roofing on there and a lot of rather ponderous design features on the roof, so I don't think anyone particularly wants to take it on. We'll turn left here and go down by the docks. A loud click, isn't it? turn you off for a minute because this traffic will be boring to watch. A jaunty angle, that's a bit better. This is a horrible little bit of the road because you've got to get in the left-hand lane here. Sensibly, people are letting me in. The Lord Nelson pub on the right there, I think that's been there for yonks. Well, it's an old building, but I think it's been called the Lord Nelson for years. And you've got all the old industrial buildings here. It's a bit of a tight squeeze. Burton's Biscuit Factory used to be on the left here. So sometimes you'd drive through Ipswich around this area and the whole place would smell of cooking biscuits, or cookies as you'd call them. Yum yum. And these were various malt houses and things like that, but now it's all quite swanky flats that they've spent quite a few years doing up, really. Don't want to spend the whole day driving through Ipswich, so we'll hook a left and go out over the river. I'm not too sure whether the River Gipping changes its name to the Orwell. I think it might be about here. It's called Stoke Bridge. Once had my hair cut in John Oliver's. They're very good hairdressers, but it was about £50, which I suppose is about $80. So I thought, beggar that. That's where all the cinema is and everything. And this here is Stoke Bridge we're coming up to. I'll pick this up and turn it out the window so you can see, look, it's all redeveloped down here and it's quite swanky and nice, really. It's not a mobile I'm using, so it's not illegal. I suppose you could get done for not paying attention. You definitely do not use a mobile phone now in the UK. I think it's something like a £90 fine and 3 points on your licence, and when you get 12 points, that's your lot. Down to the other side of the docks. There is still a yacht builder based down there, and they made a yacht that was in one of the James Bond films. Very high quality gear. A lot of the flats down here are relatively new. So you won't remember much of this if you haven't been to Ipswich for a while. See, they're all new on the left. A bit more traditional brick built buildings there, but at least you get a parking space and a garage, which is unusual for a flat. The ones in front are a bit more modern styled. And this is Worsted Road, which goes out of town, sort of Manningtree way I suppose you'd call it, but travel up here you could turn left at the end and go to down to the river at Shotley, Pinmill, Wolverston. Don't know if those names ring any bells. See, these houses are all fairly old. They're about 150 years old, I suppose. 120. We've got a lot of really old housing stock at the UK, haven't we? Solid walls with no cavities, no insulation in the cavity, obviously. Not very green. If you wanted to replace this lot, well, cost 31 miles an hour now. Speed limit's 30. Port of Ipswich. It's a funny port actually, because I think they handle more timber than any other port in the UK. A lot of timber and grain goes through that one, as opposed to Felixstowe, where I went last night with my daughter. Just over there is what is called the Oyster Reach, and I can't remember what it used to be called, but my great, oh, it's just called a beefeater, used to be called the Oyster Reach, and that was owned, sorry, I got to drive really, that was owned by my great grandfather, who was a millionaire. He had various farms, a windmill, that pub, owned various property in Ipswich. Freeman Joseph Gibbs. And the tale is that he went to America and lost the lot on drink, gambling and women. That kind of reminds me of the tale of George Best, the old footballer who played for, I think it's the Republic of Ireland, or was he Northern Irish? The ski slope there, dry ski slope. And he was a famous drunk. And someone said to him, "What did you do with all your money?" He said, "I spent it all on women, gambling and drink, and the rest I just wasted." Anyway, we've gone into Ipswich and out the other side. I hope you enjoyed it. Love to you all from the UK, my friend. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully I got the right house. If I didn't, you must get back to me and I'll have another go. Cheers, PawPaw and family. All day here now, bit of rain, but it just dawned on me that I'd never even shown my face to you all, which is rather rude. So bless your hearts, take care, bye bye.